Here's Bill Kristol. If Trump gets his way, we will have a defender of war criminals as Secretary of Defense, a Russian lackey as Director of National Intelligence, a criminal running the Department of Justice, and a crank promoter of quack remedies in charge of HHS. So you can see right here, these are the people. Not everybody's digging in, but these guys are digging in. Now, Kristol has a second quotation, which I want to read, because this quotation actually gets a little closer to the truth of the matter. The first one is the usual hyperbolic, propagandistic nonsense that we're accustomed to getting from Kristol. It's basically his bread and butter. And quite honestly, I think the guy knows better. He's an operator. You know, he's a guy who would go to work for Goebbels if he had to, if it paid well enough. But here's Bill Kristol. This is a negation of government. An act of nihilism directed at the central function of each of our government agencies. This sets the theme for Trump's second administration, in which he is clearly setting out to break our whole constitutional order. Yes and no. Trump is not trying to break our constitutional order. He's actually trying to restore our constitutional order. But he is trying to break the modus vivendi, the way of doing things, the way of life that has been established by the Biden-Harris regime and really by the Democrats. They have created an establishment with an establishment's own way of doing things. And so when Bill Kristol says this is a negation of government, it is. It is a negation of government in that sense, the kind of government that these people have set up. An act of nihilism directed at the central function of each of the government agencies. Absolutely correct. So nihilism here, though, is nihilism. The word itself means kind of nothingness. But what we mean by nihilism is something different. What we mean is we want to blow up these agencies from the inside, and that can be done in a number of ways. Shutting them down is obviously one way. Decentralizing them is another way. You scatter them. Force all the people who live in Washington, D.C., hey, by the way, your agency is now in Provo, Utah. So you might want to be looking for homes in Utah if you want to keep working, because none of this remote working either. You got to show up 5 days a week. And then there are many other techniques that I fully approve of to demoralize bureaucrats. One way is just making them feel utterly worthless, making them feel like their lives are meaningless, making them feel like they're completely unappreciated. You got to remember that these are self-important, pompous asses, and a lot of them aren't even doing it purely for the money. They're doing it for the power. They love the idea that they've got a badge, they've got a lanyard, they've got a big briefcase, and they've got a bunch of papers, and they walk around looking to the left and right as if to say, here I come,